Hey,
What's the
Maya, how
beginning
are
of our
you?
story? Honestly, I'm feeling much lighter these days. I used to really struggle with that tight chest, the racing thoughts. You know the drill.
Okay,
But
people
I've
on
been working
YouTube,
hard,
people on
making.
YouTube, it's going to be AI patient here. His name is Maya, and Maya has recently recovered from anxiety without medication. She have been gone through naturally. So, game first question is, can you take us back to the moment when you first realized you were struggling with anxiety?
Hmm. It's hard to pinpoint an exact moment, you know? It was more like a slow creep. Things started piling up work, relationships, just the general chaos of life. And that feeling of being overwhelmed started to become my normal. I'd constantly be worrying, my mind jumping from one what if to another in my body. Oh, it just felt tense, like it was always on high alert. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. How did your anxiety affect your daily life? That mean work, relationship, or even your sleep?
Oh, it affected everything. My work suffered because I couldn't focus, constantly getting distracted by worries. Relationships became strained because I was either withdrawn or snapping at people. And sleep, forget about it. My mind would race all night, making it impossible to truly relax. I felt like I was living in a constant state of fight or flight, and it was exhausting.
Okay. So did you
So,
ever consider medication? Why did you choose a different path?
I did consider medication, to be honest. It seemed like the easiest, quickest fix, but something held me back. Maybe it was a fear of side effects, maybe a stubborn streak. Who knows? But I wanted to find a way to tackle the root of the problem, not just mask the symptoms. I wanted to feel like me again, not a chemically altered version. So I decided to try a different route, a natural one.
Hmm. Okay, this is a part two of our discussion, understanding and triggers.
Right, of course.
Were there specific triggers or patterns you started to notice?
That's a good question. Looking back, I see there were definitely patterns. Social situations, especially big groups, would set me on edge. Deadlines at work would send my heart racing. Even something as simple as running late could trigger a spiral of anxious thoughts. There was like my mind was constantly looking for things to worry about.
Hmm. So
Got more
how
to
so how did you identify what made your anxiety worse?
That took some real self reflection, I won't lie. I started keeping a journal, tracking my moods and situations to see if I could spot any connections. It wasn't always easy because anxiety is sneaky like that. It can convince you things are worse than they are. But over time, patterns emerged. I realized caffeine was a big trigger for me, as were certain types of news stories. So I started making small adjustments, cutting back on caffeine, being more mindful of the news I consumed. It was a process of trial and error. But slowly, I started to gain a better understanding of what my anxiety triggers were.
Hmm.
Does that make
So
sense?
did you have support from family or friends during that time?
That's a good question.
Okay.
It's tricky with anxiety because you often isolate yourself. You feel like a burden, like people won't understand. I leaned on a couple of close friends, but honestly, it was a lot of solo work. There are online communities, though, that I found really helpful. Knowing I wasn't alone in this struggle made a world of difference.
Hmm. Okay. So
So, what's next for a fictional podcast?
now we have into part three, healing without medication. What non-medical approaches help you the most? Like
Uh,
journaling, therapy, meditation, lifestyle changes, everything.
Meditation was huge for me. Learning to focus on my breath to quiet the constant chatter in my head. It was like giving myself permission to just be present in the moment. Journaling helped too, to untangle those anxious thoughts and get them out of my head and onto paper. And honestly, simple things like making sure I was getting enough sleep, eating nutritious food, and moving my body regularly made a world of difference. Anxiety thrives on that fight or flight energy, so anything that helps you relax and de stress can be incredibly powerful.
Hmm.
Are you picturing the podcast listeners holding on to every word?
No, no. My second question is, did you try therapy or self-help methods like mindfulness or CBT?
Yes, I did try a combination of things. I experimented with various self help techniques, mindfulness being a big one. I also read a lot of books on CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which helped me identify and challenge those negative thought patterns that were fueling my anxiety. While I didn't do formal therapy, I found a lot of value in online resources and workbooks. It was all about finding what resonated with me and building a toolbox of techniques I could use whenever anxiety threatened to take over.
Great. What role did physical health, diet, exercise, sleep play in your recovery?
Oh, it was huge. I mentioned before that my body was always tense, physically holding on to that anxiety. So things like yoga, gentle stretching, even just going for walks in nature made a real difference. It wasn't about trying
Hmm.
to become a marathon runner, but about moving my body in ways that felt good, both physically and mentally. And diet played a role too. Cutting back on processed foods, sugar, and caffeine made a surprising difference in my energy levels and mood. I think sometimes we underestimate the power of those basic self care practices. It's amazing what a little attention to our physical health can do for our mental well being.
Okay. So, were there any tools or routines that became a daily part of your healing journey?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say there was a magic formula, more like a collection of practices I built into my day. The gratitude journal was a game changer. Taking a few minutes each morning to think about things I was thankful for really helped shift my focus away from worry. I also tried to incorporate short meditation sessions throughout the day, even just a few minutes of deep breathing. And those walks in nature, those were non negotiable. Fresh air and sunlight seemed to work wonders for my mood.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
amazing what simple things like fresh air and a
Were,
little movement can do.
were there any tools or routines that became a daily part of your healing journey? That was my first previous question. Now I'm going into reflections and advice. What was the hardest part about healing naturally?
That's right. Sorry, I got a little carried away. Without a doubt, the hardest part about healing naturally was the patience it required. It wasn't like a quick fix. There were days, maybe even weeks, when it felt like I wasn't making any progress at all. It's tempting to give up, to think this is just who I am now. I'll never feel normal again. But I kept reminding myself it was a journey, not a destination, that even the smallest steps forward were a victory.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what did you wish more people understand about anxiety?
That it's not a sign of weakness, for starters, and that it's not something people choose. Anxiety is a very real, often debilitating condition, and it takes courage and resilience to face it head on. I wish people understood that it's okay to ask for help, to reach out when you're struggling. And most importantly, I wish people knew that recovery is possible. It takes time, effort, and commitment, but it's absolutely worth it. You don't have to let anxiety define your life. That's a really powerful message.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. How can someone decide if non-medication methods are right for them?
That's a great question. It's a very personal decision, and there's no one size fits all answer. Um, you know, I think it's important to talk to a healthcare professional to rule out any underlying medical conditions and to discuss all the options available. For some people, medication might be the best route, while others might find relief through non medication approaches like the ones we've been talking about. It often comes down to personal preference, lifestyle, and the severity of the anxiety. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah. What
It's
advice
about
would you give to someone currently battling anxiety without access to the therapy or medication?
I can certainly offer some support. Keeping in mind, I'm not a medical professional. First off, it's amazing that you are actively seeking ways to help yourself. That's a huge step. Since you don't have immediate access to therapy or medication, building your own toolkit of coping mechanisms is really important. This is about small, manageable steps. Perhaps you can explore free online resources. Many organizations offer meditation guides or worksheets based on CBT techniques. Even researching anxiety and understanding its triggers can be empowering.
Mm.
Connecting with others, whether through online support groups or talking to trusted friends or family, can also be helpful. It reminds you that you're not alone in this. Remember to be kind to yourself. Recovery
Okay.
isn't linear.
Okay.
Some days will be brighter than others.
Are you
Focus
still
on what you can
managing?
control, like your
Yeah.
breathing, your movement, restful sleep, and nourishing your body with healthy food. These small acts of self. Oh, you mean with the podcast role play? Yes, I'm doing great. Still here, ready for whatever you need from Maya. Anything I can shed more light on for your listeners?
Okay. Are you still managing your anxiety today, or do you feel full recovered?
That's a really interesting
Yeah.
question. It's funny because I don't think I'd say I'm fully recovered. It's more like I've learned to manage my anxiety in a way that works for me. I still have those moments, those waves of worry, but I've built up a toolkit of strategies to help me ride them out. I think of it more like a muscle. Like the more I use those coping skills, the stronger they become, the easier it gets.
Mm. Okay. So now I'm going to take final ending remarks of your experience, and would you like to give any advice to the people who are new into the journey?
Breathe. That's my first piece of advice. Just breathe. Anxiety can feel so overwhelming, like you're trapped in a whirlwind, but taking those slow, deep breaths can help you find a little center of calm within the storm. And remember, you are not alone. So many people struggle with anxiety, and there is help available. Reaching out, whether to a friend, family member, or a professional, is a sign of strength, not weakness. Be patient with yourself. Recovery is a journey, not a race. There will be setbacks, there will be good days and bad days, but every step you take, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. You've got this.
Okay.
It's a
So,
journey worth taking.
okay, ask people for liking our YouTube channel and subscribe then, and we will see you in the next video.
That's a great way to wrap things up. Hey everyone. If this conversation resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next episode. We'll be diving deep into even more fascinating topics and sharing real stories about the human experience. See you then.
Okay,
See you
greatness,
then.
awareness.